This is SaugaTalks. Today I'm Irene, the host, and I speak weekly with fascinating people in tech. And we touch on artificial intelligence, we touch on innovation, we touched on digital transformation across industries, and sometimes going deeper into healthcare, going deeper into HR and other verticals. But today I'm incredibly privileged because we not only talk about robotics, the age of useful robotics, but my incredible guest is here, Tony Ellis. Hello, Tony. How are you?
Hello, Irene. I'm fine, thank you, and it's great to be talking to you. Absolutely great.
How lovely. Absolutely. Tony, you're an inventor, you're a roboticist, and
Yes,
you're a futurist. So I cannot wait to hear from you because robotics right now is making headlines.
yes,
Okay, we all seem to be interested, right, to know what
yes.
the future, what the future ahead of us. Could you please describe, in your experience, robotics evolution, and where do you think we are in that cycle?
Yes, right. Robotics. I've been, I've been making robots for over 45 years now, and actually, robotics steered my entire career because that you need so many different skills to be a roboticist. It led me into actually becoming a technical toy inventor, making very high tech toys. The first robot I ever made was in 1979, and that was programmable, and that was quite a big machine. And we actually had this is disaster story because the robot was over 5 foot tall, made out of aluminium and on a wooden frame with a car battery, and it malfunctioned, and it caused quite a bit of damage in the flat that me and my wife were living in at that time because I never put an on-off switch. This is true, absolutely true. I never put an on-off switch on this robot. I used to switch it on and off by the radio RF link. So, and what happened was the suppressor capacitors on the large drive motors failed, and so the whole area got filled with RF noise. And the robot worked on tone decoding, which is different frequencies did different jobs. And so when it was flooded with RF noise, this robot just went absolutely berserk because it wasn't getting the right frequencies and it was just getting random. And so it was wobbling around, and it went in. It destroyed a coffee table. It went into a door, and in those days the doors were very thin-skinned, and it sort of collapsed into the door, and then ripped the wallpaper. And at that time, my wife said, "Right, that's it. You're not going to make any more big robots." That's actually how it started. And from there, I always put an on-off switch basically on all the robots that I built because that was a really silly mistake. But robotics at that point was very primitive, and we had robotics. The robotics we would have known would have been in car factories, and they would weld and they were dumb, but they would weld and paint. But if the car wasn't there, they would still try to paint something. They had very little sensory feedback, and so this was really holding everything back. And then with AI was held back with what we call the AI winter. The AI winter was a time when everyone was expecting AI to actually go crazy, and the US was spending millions of billions of dollars for DARPA and trying to produce AI, which we just didn't have the computing power at that point to do. And so AI really sort of came to a stop, and there was this big sort of time where the two things you need the two things. You need robotics and AI together to make something that is going to work and going to work. And so what happened was it really was almost a robotics window. And then in the 80s, there was this huge robotic surge of personal robots. The Hero robot was like a kit robot made by a very big kit company, and it was a couple of $1,000. And then there was this Nolan Bushell made a very and he started he was the founder of one of the very big console games. And then all of a sudden there was about 20 robots out there that you could buy as hobbyists and make, and they were sort of relatively sophisticated. But this whole thing, then there was no killer application, and what was the robots just weren't good enough at that point to give what we call a killer application. And a killer application is like what happened on the PC when the PC got spreadsheets and word processors. All of a sudden, PCs become incredibly useful and dominated business because there were killer applications. But the robots, like in this 80s, just wasn't up to it. You'd still have something like 4K of RAM in there. I mean, it would be, an 8-bit processor, and you can't really do an awful lot with that. And so on. So there was, after that all sort of collapsed, and the whole robotics, hobby robotics and side really just fell apart. And it sort of started, it's all getting exciting now in the last 4 or 5 years because of one big thing, which is vision. Vision is now very, very important, and vision means the robot can start having killer applications, if you like, applications that make them useful. And our robots, they have a great vision systems, and they can see emotions, 6 levels of emotion. They can recognize objects. They can recognize up to 1,000 faces, even in low light level. And so now this becomes very useful because it's not like the car spray painting robot now. Our robots and also robots around the world, they can see, so they can actually get something. Our Altair robot can know the difference between a Diet Pepsi and a regular Pepsi or a beer and so on. So you're at that position where the robot can now go and get something and bring it to a person. Or as we show in one of my videos, our robots pour drinks. Pour drinks for people, and because they're in their assistive mode. And so we've got to this fantastic point now where it's all just about to happen, because we've got great AI being developed and great vision systems, and you put the two together, and you've got one heck of a possibilities that we never had before, with interaction, with human robot interaction. And it's very exciting at this point. And even Elon Musk has just proposed that I think Tesla are going to build a humanoid robot. I don't know if you saw the news, but a humanoid robot. Very, very funnily, he said that he's going to make sure that it can't move faster than 4 miles an hour. And I think this was a joke, but so that you could run away from. So people could run away from it.